Decades of courtroom experience as a criminal prosecutor, as well as my years as a broadcast journalist and legal analyst, I'm going to peel back the layers for you as we do our daily deep dive together.
Sex trafficking trial. The jury has reached a verdict on 4 of the 5 charges against Combs. Now, those are counts 2 through 5, which include sex trafficking and transportation with intent to commit prostitution. But they are hung on count 1, the most serious charge of racketeering conspiracy. Let's bring back in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, who, again, is outside that courthouse in Manhattan with the latest. Kelly, well, hi there, Michael. It's just some further updates for you here in Lower Manhattan. The judge has brought the jury back into the courtroom, so the jury has made their way back into the courtroom. And the judge is going to instruct them that he has received their notes, and he's going to ask them to continue their deliberations. And then he is going to tell them if you are done for the day when you go back. They're just to send another note to let us know that you're done for the day and that you would like to come back tomorrow. So, interesting developments here, to say the least. We'll have to see if the jury decides to come back tomorrow, Michael, or if they are going to continue to deliberate throughout the night. Of course, they reached a partial verdict on counts 2 through 5. They have not reached a verdict on count 1. That's conspiracy. That's racketeering. And, Michael, earlier when we were talking, I was trying to go through my notes when you mentioned that they only had to find 1 instance of sex trafficking, for instance, or 1 instance of transportation with intent to commit prostitution. During the rebuttal close from federal prosecutors, they made that extremely clear. Kami made that very clear in her rebuttal close, and one of the instances that she mentioned, she was talking about, and I'm not going to read it in too much detail because it's very graphic. But it related to Jane, and it was talking about Jane not wanting to perform a sex act on one of the male escorts. And then he said to her, and this is how Kami read it in her rebuttal close, you go back there, and you expletive, some expletive. And so if people were following some of the testimony, they know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's talking about a woman doing something to a man. She was saying to him, for the testimony, she did not want to do that. And then Sean Diddy. Combs, according to the federal prosecutors, and according to the testimony, they hammered on this, and that rebuttal closed. Go back and do blank. Do blank. Ski then said Kami said, that is sex trafficking. So, read into that what you want. But that's something that she left the jurors with, Michael, when she was delivering her closing. Yeah, I think that's something. That prosecutors did extremely well, sort of breaking down and simplifying some of the charges in this case, which can be a bit complicated. Kayla, we're also getting word now that the jurors have left the courtroom, to go back and continue to deliberate. The judge said, though, he will remain on the bench just in case he gets a note or a note comes out from that jury. So, as of right now, they've gone back to continue, to deliberate. On that particular point. On that racketeering charge, and one point I want to make clear. Let me go back to Kelly now. Kelly, I understand we have something breaking. Yes, I'm getting some information right now. They are done for the day, Michael. So they are going to go home, and then they are going to come back tomorrow. I'm just reading my notes to make sure I don't want to say anything on air. I'm not supposed to. Let's see. Okay. Interesting. Just some information here that defense feels that they are making progress on count 1. But anyway, it does appear that the jury is going to go home for the evening, that they will come back tomorrow and continue the deliberations on that count 1. That is the racketeering conspiracy charge, Michael. At least that's the information that we're getting right now. I'm getting a note they want to go home. Right? Fair enough. And then it seems like they're sticking to the sketch. We're going home at 5 o'clock. It's coming up on 5:30 now. They're ready to go home, start fresh tomorrow. Probably not a bad idea. One thing I wanted to check in with you and let our viewers remember is that we're talking about these charges. And we were using words, but this jury got to see a lot of video of these freak-offs. Take us back to some of those instances where the jurors were looking at it. I got mixed reports on some of the reactions of some of the jurors. But we have to remember what was going on in those rooms while it was going on. And the defense tried to claim that this was just part of their swingers' lifestyle. Some of that stuff was pretty heavy. We can't forget that they were looking at these videos of what was happening and what was going on in those freak offs, correct? Oh, Michael, yes, those videos. Now, during the jury selection process, they did make it very clear to the potential jurors that they were going to have to be okay with viewing very, very personal, intimate details of someone's private moments inside their bedroom. And the jurors that were selected indicated that they would be okay viewing that kind of footage. So we saw them throughout this case, defense counsel showing longer clips of the videos than the prosecution, especially wanting to show, according to the defense counsel, that these women were into it, that these women were going along with it, that they were all about the money. In fact, defense counsel called Cassie Ventura a big winner in this case. And so, yes, the jurors had to watch that extremely graphic footage, and a lot of them, not too much reaction, but at times, especially in the beginning when they first started viewing some of the videos, Michael. Some of the jurors would end up turning their heads away, but then, as the case went on and they viewed more and more video and we heard more and more graphic testimony, it was as if they just were accustomed to what would be coming next, so the reactions were not as strong. It's a fine line how much video you show them, because at the end of the day, the more you show them, the more normalized it becomes. For the jury, and again, still, I'm sure it had quite the impact again. Just want to remind our viewers. The jury delivered a note to the court in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial that they had a verdict on 4 of 5 counts. The question was, what would they do at that point? Well, the judge decided to send them back to continue deliberating, and what they decided to do was go home for the day. So they are going to be headed home. I'll come back tomorrow, start fresh, and continue to deliberate on that top count of racketeering. That was the one they were having trouble coming to an agreement on. And again, I think, the words were, there were positions that were unpersuadable. And this was in that time of that first note, but looks like they're willing to go back and continue to work on that tomorrow.